Into the upper 80s to the low 90s inland of the coast, which is around average for this time of year. Middle and upper 80s for those coastal areas today, with a small chance for isolated downpours firing up in the afternoon hours. As for tonight, we are going to see partly cloudy skies as temperatures fall to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music, with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to the program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Please visit the website at bigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. I promise you'll love it. It's a way of life. Send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques. We cannot improve without your assistance. And, peruse our schedule of content and take the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you want to go. You'll love it. It's a way of life. That's awesome. I like that. We're getting better. Morning. I do have to, I'm sorry. This was a story we covered a couple of days ago. It came up on the news today. You just heard Matt Bennett talk about it. Apparently, Benbow, what's his name? Benbow, what's his first name? One I can't pronounce. Tyrants Benbow. Apparently the mom's upset. Now that we know more of the story, we should be upset with the mom, or maybe I'm completely off base here, but she's mad that her son is deceased, and I can understand being upset. However, if the accomplishment of your son is selling cocaine, in which case narcotics officer watched 21-year-old Tyrant Benbow make a drug deal. Alleged drug deal. Which, come on now. And all they want to do is pull him over and check it out. Well, he decides to go off driving. Stupid. And I'm guessing his mom taught him how to drive. He was ejected, telling us that chances are he was not wearing his seatbelt, being the cocaine-fueled Superman that he is. He was ejected from the vehicle. The vehicle landed upside down on top of him. The people that should be upset are the people he, crashed head-on into on the other side of the road. Going into oncoming traffic and hitting another vehicle head-on. Yeah, I'm a little upset about that because personal responsibility. At least my mom taught me that, if you do something wrong and you get caught, running away is not helping. If the police turn their lights on and want to pull you over, the best thing you could do is just stop. If you're going to jail, you're going to jail. There's not much else you can do about it. And Daquan Pierce, another one of our brightest, decided to jump into the Greenfield Lake to get away from police, tried to serve a search warrant, jumped into the Greenfield Lake, and started struggling and called for help. An officer jumped into the lake and brought Pierce back to the shoreline. He now faces several charges for resisting arrest. Imagine that. That must have been awesome. Just running away from the cops, jumping into a big lake that I'm going to go swim across because I'm not Superman. Anyway, so last night had fun with the Rob Zapple, one of the guests, the county commissioner that we've had on the show a couple of times. He had a little gathering, or I should say a gathering was held for him. I guess that's more proper. It was a lot of fun at, where were we? Dram Morsel downtown. Incredible food, well catered. And that lets you know how well they treat people because, you know, as the musician, the tertiary walk-in, walk-out guy, they fed me. So that's pretty happening. That lets you know they be caring about they folk. Some other great talent there. Ray Kennedy was playing piano for a couple of ladies that were singing in addition to my little instrumental part. I helped. He's got a campaign coming up, and as we were able to meet for the first time in person, like I said, we've had him on the show a number of times. But I don't think we've ever been within, 80 miles of each other when we had him on the show. So actually being able to shake his hand and, listen to him lay out his plans for the, not just for the campaign, but what he sees for the New Hanover area. And of course, being educated by Bill Moore yesterday, I misunderstood where some of the county boundaries were. So yeah, we're going to need folks like the NCGOP over in Brunswick County to sort of guide that along. And same thing here in New Hanover County, as it extends all the way down to Curry Beach. I thought that was awesome. Learning more every day. And that's what I like about being stupid, because I can then learn mostly the details of the information that may not be clear, that are easily misconstrued and displayed upon the Facebook pages in a very, incorrect manner. And speaking of Facebook, all y'all Facebook viewers should be sending messages to the Chad Adams Show, letting him know that you would like to have him on the show. It'd be nice if I had him in the mornings to help me because, again, he is a smarter person than I am, has a greater understanding of the pulse of North Carolina, whereas I am just trying to keep things running. So please send a message. You can use the bigtalker.live email address, info@bigtalker.live. And, send us some comments, questions, concerns, compliments, critiques. We can't improve without your help, and I think having Chad Adams back would be a big deal for a whole lot of people tuning in right now. And that's sort of what we're trying to get back into. We are still a heck of a internet radio station with content such as the All Things Brunswick tonight, 6 p.m. Following this show is the replay of Consumer Choice Radio. We also have Guns, Politics, and Freedom by Paul Vallone. Right, and Heard Tell every morning at 7 and 3 p.m., 7 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Andrew Donaldson's Heard Tell. I mean, it's still quite the busy little radio station over here. We're working on some more material, trying to bring you more. And bringing back shows like we did with Today's Homeowner and When Radio Was. That was pretty special. So with all of these things working in the same direction, reaching out and contacting people and letting people know where they can get their hands on get their ear holes filled with some Big Talker, where we turn down the noise, try to get to what's going on, even if it's not something I understand. But that's how we get going. There were other things we were going to talk about, wasn't there? Well, the headline or the pitch for this one from Keith coming out of Fox Weather sent to me. Ooh, this is North Carolina, boy. This is not doing well for us. This does not bode well for us. All right. Where are we coming from? FoxWeather.com. Not sure why. But anyway, North Carolina boy fights unimaginable pain after at-home science experiment goes horribly wrong. The 12-year-old was working with fool's gold and isopropyl alcohol on a Bunsen burner when a freak accident occurred, causing severe burns throughout his upper body. Oh, Highlands, North Carolina. From a young age, 12-year-old Barrett McKim always loved to learn, especially in science. Whether reading or watching YouTube videos on the subject, his adoration continued to grow and is something he's had a passion for his whole life. While most boys his age might run around the backyard with a football, it's not uncommon to witness Barrett dancing around the house with chemistry goggles, carrying out the latest experiment he just studied. The second born in a family of 5, Barrett is homeschooled in classical-style education in his tiny town of Highlands in the mountains of western North Carolina. Aside from his gentle and loving type personality, he is extremely cautious, very responsible, and a forward thinker, his father said. That's just a part of his personality. Kyle McKim, his father, he's the one probably more than any of our kids that's anticipating or looking out for his younger brothers because they're too close to the pond or the edge of the deck. However, what happened next is something more of a freak accident than careless learning. June 23rd, day of explosion. The morning started like most days in the McKim house. Kyle McKim was away at work about 12 minutes from the family home, and the kids were all home with their mother on their summer break. Even though school was out, Barrett still wanted to learn. He decided to perform a science experiment in the front room of the home. Excuse me, he's worked with different rocks and minerals a lot and loves heating different ones up, McKim said. On this particular day, Barrett was working with some fool's gold and testing things he had read, which would cause it to spark and change colors. This was not a classroom accident. This was just Barrett doing his own thing, McKim said. While the family is unsure how the explosion happened, they do know that Barrett was using isopropyl alcohol as an accelerant to get some additional heat. We don't know if that was sparked by one of the sparks from the rocks or something with the Bunsen burner, McKim said. We've looked at the lighter, which seems like maybe it had a faulty connection. We don't really know what ignited the accident, but it exploded up into his face and is what created the burn. When he first got to the hospital, Barrett was burnt on what doctors initially thought was 40% of his body. As often happens with an accelerant, the body continues to burn. Doctors now say he has burns on 50% of his body, 20% are third degree, 30% are second degree burns. He's battling burns primarily on his lower face, neck, entire front torso, arms, hands, shoulders, and the length of his thighs to his knees. We feel very grateful that he had the goggles on for this accident because it did protect some of his face and certainly his eyes, McKim said. When the explosion happened, it threw the accelerant and fire onto Barrett, who was unfortunately not wearing a lab coat but a synthetic shirt, creating more of an issue as it went into flames. Fortunately, his mother was in an adjacent room and heard the explosion. Barrett runs out of the room and he's on fire. My wife was burnt, some of her hands, trying just to get the fire out and remove the shirt from Barrett. She ultimately succeeded in the effort by getting him to the sink and soaking him with water. Barrett's mother sustained terrible burns on both hands but managed to save her son's life. She frantically called 911 and continued to spray water on Barrett until help arrived. When I got there, she was still dousing him with water on the floor and just trying to keep things cool, moist, and wet with cold water, McKim said. From the very time I came into the house, when he was screaming in pain, he wanted me to tell him the truth, asking if he is going to die. Paramedics rushed Barrett to a county soccer field about 4 miles down the road. From there, an air flight helicopter would take him to the JMS Burn Center at Doctors Hospital in Augusta, Georgia. The pain Barrett feels is an exhausting battle. His dad said he's healing well, but there's a lot of recovery ahead. Most likely it'll be a year or so before Barrett is back into the swing of things. Even with the healing of the skin, there's just a whole nother dynamic of the movement and stretching and the physical therapy that is of a real focus as well. Days inside the burn center turned into weeks, and soon weeks will transition to months. Initially, I was told a month just because of the ongoing series of surgeries and his recovery, and this morning, for the first time, I heard that it could be a month to 2 months. For parents, there's nothing worse than seeing their child in excruciating pain. I know I've never experienced it to this level, and you want nothing more than to take that on yourself or fix it. You feel somewhat helpless. The soon-to-be teenager has been surrounded by family during his healing process, something everyone is learning as they witness Barrett's trauma. Barrett has had now 3 different surgeries since we've been here. He most likely will have to have several more, McKim said. Technology in burn recovery has progressed over the years with many tools to help in the healing process. Cadaver skin grafts have been placed on Barrett temporarily, and doctors already see new skin. Doctors really believe that his face will heal completely without grafts, and that's a real blessing, McKim said. Barrett is pushed daily to sit up and walk as much as possible, but with that, pain is also created. To try and overcome that and force himself still to do... To try and overcome that and force himself still to do it is really where a lot of our battle is, and he's doing well, but it's hard to watch. From a nutrient standpoint, Barrett also suffered burns on his mouth and can't obtain needed calories, so doctors place a feeding tube up his nose. McKinn said they're overwhelmed by all the calls, texts, and letters of support. As a family, we're Christians, and without that, I don't know how we would have made it through this. A GoFundMe has raised more than $72,000 to help Barrett's family. It also serves as a daily blog that family members use to update the world on his recovery. Comments are also posted praising Barrett for practicing and perfecting the art of science. Others are inspired by his story, pushing him never to stop learning and growing his knowledge for the things he's most passionate about, science. As horrible as this situation is, we have felt the prayers and those lifting Barrett up, and certainly feel that the Lord is working in this for our good and for Barrett. Experiential knowledge is one way. And he did everything right. I mean, save for the lab coat. And that little combination will stay with him forever, but I'm hoping, I did some stupid stuff in my preteen years, right? Like cottonwood trees in New Mexico, I kind of knew the cotton in cottonwood trees was flammable. I did not know how flammable. I think I'm 8 or 9 years old, and I'm trying to impress a girl by stealing my dad's lighter, and I'm going to ignite all of this. I had a big ball of cottonwood, because when the tree popped, man, buckets and buckets of cottonwood everywhere. And it would gather like in the corner outside, like in our little back little courtyard area thing, right? I don't remember being out there much. But we had one. And then, all the wind would blow all the cottonwood, and it would gather in the corner, and I gathered it up in the corner, and I turned to my, how would you say, romantic interest and said, hey, you want to see something really cool? I have fireworks in my hands. Yep, I lit that ball of cottonwood, and it went poof. And she started laughing. Well, there was a bit of a squeak of a scream, and then she started laughing. Uncontrollably laughing. And I wasn't hurt in the incident, but I did feel a brief warmth crossed my face. And I couldn't understand why she was laughing until, of course, I went inside. And, of course, I'm still very, very much surprised that I had apparently burned off every bit of hair on my face. All of my eyelashes were little black melted balls dotting my eyelid. I had no eyebrows. I had no nostril hair. And I mean, I'm 9. I don't have a lot of hair anyway, but it's all gone. I'm looking like Pink from Pink Floyd after he shaves himself from what is that, Brick in the Wall movie. Oh yeah, I was looking pretty sad. And I learned a lot about the term flammability and combustion. And of course, the importance of oxygen when trying to create a flame or something. So yeah, be careful with them science projects, and of course the homeschooling. Boy, that adds a lot. Let's see. Ooh, I saw a video on this. There's a guy who does like lots and lots of science videos, and I like watching it. And for fun, he decided to make beer. Well, I can't say he made beer, but he was pointing out how the process of making beer is very similar to the process of treating sewage. Now, Singapore, this is coming out of Sydney Morning Herald. I'm guessing that's Australia. This particular story by Sing Yi Ong. Singapore, I mean, not that Chinese deserves beer, but hey, here we are. New brew is no ordinary beer. The new Singapore Blonde Ale is made with recycled sewage. Hey, there you go. The alcoholic beverage, I always told you it was crap. Anyway, the alcoholic beverage is a collaboration between the country's National Water Agency, PUB, and local craft brewery, Brewworks. First unveiled at a water conference in 2018, New Brew went on sale in supermarkets and at Brewworks outlets in April. I seriously couldn't tell this was made of toilet water, said Chu Wai Lian, 58, who had purchased the beer from a supermarket to try. About hearing about it, I don't mind it if it was in the fridge. I mean, it tastes just like beer, and I like beer. New Brew uses New Water, Singapore's brand of drinking water recycled from sewage, which first flowed from treatment plants in 2003 to improve the island's water security. Pub says the new beer is part of an effort to educate Singaporeans on the importance of sustainable water use and recycling. The idea of processing sewage into drinking water, once largely resisted, has been gaining support in the past decade as the world's supply of fresh water is increasingly under stress. The World Wildlife Fund estimates 2.7 billion people find water scarce for at least 1 month a year. Advanced economies such as Israel and Singapore that have limited freshwater resources have already incorporated the technology into their supplies. Cities such as Los Angeles and London are examining plans to follow suit. Singapore's new water is made by disinfecting sewage with ultraviolet light and passing the liquid through advanced membranes to remove contaminant particulates. Key to expanding the technology is to persuade the public that once the water has been processed, it's just water. New water perfectly suits brewing because it tastes neutral, said Mitch Grivov, whatever, Brewworks head brewer. The mineral profile of water plays a key role in chemical reactions during brewing. Breweries elsewhere have also made beer with recycled sewage. Stockholm-based Naya Carnegie Brewery partnered with brewing giant Carlsberg and IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute, to launch a Pilsner made with purified sewage, while Village Brewery in Canada teamed up with researchers from the University of Calgary and U.S. water technology company Asylum to roll out their own version. Not everyone is convinced, however. There are many kinds of beers around, said Singapore student Lo Yu Chen. 22 years old. If I wanted a beer, I'd pick something made of normal water. Normal water. Obviously, that student hasn't been into the science class yet. But others who have sampled new brews say they find it's a refreshing, light-tasting ale that's perfect for Singapore's tropical climate. If you don't tell people it's made from wastewater, they probably won't know, said Grace Chen, 52, after sampling the ale. Still, if you're in Singapore and you want to taste it yourself, you may need to be quick. The first batch of new brew is already sold out on tap at Brewworks restaurants, and the company expects stocks at the supermarket will run out by the end of July. The brewer said it would assess the market response before deciding whether to make another batch. I'm going to let that one settle. Because I'm not even sure how much I could rip on this. It's just... You know what, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to be right back after these messages. I need to go start a batch of beer. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We're learning more details about a police chase that ended in a fatal crash near Charlotte on Friday. According to Sheriff John Ingram, narcotics officers watched 21-year-old Tyrant Benbow allegedly make a drug deal. The sheriff says a deputy attempted to pull Benbow over, but he fled. During the pursuit, Benbow lost control of his vehicle, going into oncoming traffic and hitting another vehicle head-on. Benbow was ejected, and his vehicle landed upside down and on top of him. He died at the scene. Deputies searched Benbow's car moments after the crash and found a large amount of cocaine. New developments out of Swansboro. Teenagers exploring Huggins Islands near Hammocks Beach State Park found a human leg 2 days ago. Investigators believe the leg belonged to 73-year-old Warren Liner, who disappeared on New Year's Eve after going on a solo kayaking trip in Bogue Inlet near Emerald Isle. Liner's kayak and life jacket were recovered during a search on Bear Island, but his body was never found. Wilmington police have arrested a suspect they say ran away from them and jumped into Greenfield Lake. Saturday afternoon, police tried to serve a warrant in the 2000 block of Fall Drive. Officers say 27-year-old Daquan Pierce of Rocky Point ran towards Greenfield Lake and went into some thick brush along the edge of the lake. He tried to swim across, but started struggling and called for help. An officer jumped into the lake and brought Pierce back to the shoreline. He now faces several charges for resisting arrest. And if you're visiting area beaches this week, be on the lookout for high tides and flooding because of the king tide. King tides are the highest high and lowest low tide events of the year. They occur when the sun, earth, and moon are all in alignment and the moon is at its closest point to the earth. This can cause flooding in places like Canal Drive on Carolina Beach. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a much warmer afternoon in the Cape. Your highs will get into the upper 80s to the low 90s inland of the coast, which is around average for this time of year. Middle and upper 80s for those coastal areas today, with a small chance for isolated downpours firing up in the afternoon hours. As for tonight, we are going to see partly cloudy skies as temperatures fall to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Folks, the sad truth of it is most of what we're seeing in the news cycle is just noise, and it's recycled noise at that. Nothing informative, nothing that actually helps us discern the times that we live in. That's why we started doing Herd Tell. Every morning right here on Big Talker Network, 7 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m., we talk and discuss the issues of the day, culture and politics with knowledgeable guests, no yelling, no caterwauling, just grown folk talk about the issues that matter. Join me, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning for Herd Tell. Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Just started a new batch of blonde ale. Still just a little creeped out by that story. Hey, could you imagine? Scare campaign over recycled water could be worse than Puwumba, whatever. That was another article headline that just kind of caught my eye there, but so water on this planet, or at least in our reality, is one of the most unique substances ever. I mean, hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe, is also highly explosive in the presence of oxygen. Wait a minute, highly combustible. In the presence of oxygen, but when you bind hydrogen with oxygen, it apparently becomes because oxygen, wrap your head, I mean, oxygen is required to burn hydrogen. Hydrogen and oxygen with a spark, in theory, would go boom. However, hydrogen and oxygen, when combined 2-to-1, magically becomes water. That's the root water, H2O. No minerals, no poop, no nothing else. Just H2O. Now, water and carbon. Water is like an amazing vehicle, because you can dissolve just about everything that's not oil in water, right? I mean, when you wash your hands, you're not washing your hands in turpentine. You don't need it. But you might need turpentine to remove something like an oil. And then you use a soap, which makes the oil and grease become water soluble. Then it goes on down the water process. And now it's water with stuff, it's a vehicle. Now, when you flush a toilet and it becomes filled with more than hydrogen and oxygen, getting it filtered out has been part of humanity's thing to figure out for centuries now. Many of us understand that there's an incredible processing plant directly under our feet. Planet Earth has been doing exactly this for 1 million years. In fact, I would say that everything developed in response to everything else. Again, we like to say nothing happens in a vacuum. I would like to say that the development of the Earth's water system was a response to itself. That is, as plants died, as animals died, as animals pooped, as other animals, every last machine, person, animal, lizard, bird, takes in food, generates energy, motion, mechanics, and then generates some sort of waste product. The planet is well suited for handling most of those waste products. It's when we get into stupid stuff like what Chemwars and DuPont dumped into the water that we are unable to process it. However, water did what water does. It's a vehicle by which all this other stuff can be diluted and drained away, washed away. Whether the earth can handle that is another story. In the case of recycling waste, or what do they call it, recycled sewage? Was that because the terms are pretty, recycled sewage. I mean, that's just not a term. It shouldn't be. Like recycled aluminum. You recycle aluminum to become another can or another sheet of aluminum foil. What are you going to make? Recycled sewage you don't do sewage. Stop with that. That's not very, very appetizing, certainly if you're trying to sell beer. Most beer companies are, touting that their water comes from the cleanest, most natural resource or sources. Maybe it's from a special mountain, lake, or spring or something like that. But, now, to be fair, putting on a lab coat and thinking about this in terms of mass spec and other forms of measurement, as we mentioned or as we discussed yesterday, and have discussed weeks previously. Yesterday with Bill Moore, a few weeks ago with Dr. Cahoon, the issue of percentage, removing 99% of the contaminants, that leaves 1 in 100. In many cases, that can be fatal, or certainly more than enough to cause problems, because that's 1 part in 100. So we don't want 99%. We want 99.9999999. We want 100% gone. Right? Like 3 parts per trillion. And I think that's like 99.99999%. Or 9997%. So not 1 part in 100. 99% sounds amazing. Oh my God, that's almost all of it. That's 99%. That's 99 parts out of 100 that have been removed. The other 1 part in 100, meaning out of every 100 parts, 1 of them is going to be very, very bad. Bad enough that you only need 1 part in 100 to cause problems. So when we're looking at percentages and listening to Chemwar's BS on the television, one of the main reasons why I don't have one, they're going to try and tell you that they're doing major strides, that they're releasing but this much into, well, how much poison do you think is acceptable in your water supply? 1%? If 1% can cause problems, that's 1 part in 100, right? You can dilute it further, so it's 1 part in 1,000, but it's still a problem. Never should have been there in the first place, so trying to reduce it to 1 part in 1,000,000,000,000, right? It's so many particles per deciliter or deciliter or milliliter or whatever the term is. I mean, that's for all the smart guys. I used to work with those guys. They would hand me a sample and say, I need to know what this is, what's in here and how much. Not by percentage, but by actual count. Right? Here is my sample. He wants to know of this, down into the parts per trillion, how much of this is arsenic, how much of this is asbestos, or whatever it is they're looking for in a particular sample. So in terms of scale, our education system has failed us on a large scale. Get it? Scale. Because if we had any understanding of what these relationships are, what these parts per unit could actually mean, we don't have a way of relating it. Again, my example of doing 60 miles an hour in a car, we kind of understand it. But until you've been in an accident at 60 miles an hour, you cannot describe the amount of energy involved. Because when you're sitting in the car doing 60 and everything's all fine and dandy and no big deal, you don't have any sort of relatable experience, right? If you want to find out about it, just ask any police officer who's ever had to work a highway scene. They can tell you there's a whole lot of energy being disseminated in an accident. And that's how cars are designed, to put energy around your body, not through your body. That's why we have seatbelts, to keep you in the car so that you're not ejected like the brain-dead moron who flipped the car, was ejected, and the car landed on top of him upside down. The family that he hit head on, the energy went around that family. They're hurt, but they're alive. We don't have this understanding. We don't have any relationship to our scientific understanding. We read these, many people just glaze over the reports because they cannot understand them. It's like sheet music. If you give sheet music to the right person, you will get a phenomenal performance. You hand it to somebody else and you're going to get complete gibberish. Because they can't read it, they can't understand it, they don't have any sort of relatable brain function. I don't even know how to describe it. Phenomenal keyboard player in town recently. Did the Grease show. Brian Whitted, incredible player, incredible performer. If you haven't seen Grease, you need to. I think he's in just about every production at Thalian Hall this year. And then the gentleman who hired me for the gig last night, Ray Kennedy, they are both great piano players. They can both sight read. I haven't sight read since I was like 12 or 14, somewhere in there. Somewhere around the times I discovered girls and being nerd, right? So sight reading theory never left. I just can't sight read. I can read, I just can't sight read. And Ray comes from the same generation, I guess, from that. So when I was a kid, just about every mom was able to basic sight read to do things like play hymns and Christmas music and whatever else, little family time around the piano. So it's a basic skill set, like being able to cook. It was just something you learned to do, and it was mostly encouraged, I would guess, in the females, right? The debutantes of North Carolina were usually required to learn music of some sort, some instrument, or sing, or something, dance, right? Back in the days of Danny Kaye, if anybody remembers that brilliant guy, that guy was amazing as a dancer. He might have had a lot of other issues going on, but dance-wise and choreography, amazing. But back then, you had to be able to do things like sing, dance, play, tap dance. You weren't just one-trick pony like Taylor Swift. Right? Oh, and you had to be cute or adorable or attractive or in some way memorable aesthetically. Right? Taylor Swift is certainly aesthetically blessed. And maybe she can chirp a little bit. I don't know. I'm not really of that style. It doesn't hit me in the feels like it does for a lot of girls. But then again, it's girl music. Well, that material is written for that type of romanticizing, if you will. Right? I grew up on heavy metal back in the 80s, so totally different vibe. The point being, the same music between the two of these people was still read and performed for the ladies to sing. I don't know if I should call them girls because they're younger than I am, or ladies, even though one of them wasn't quite up to the I have an ID and ready to join the military age, right? So it's really difficult what terms to use. But they were dressed quite well. I was radically underdressed. Point being, still that between Brian and Ray, they were both quite functional and able to completely smoke me, right? Because they can sight read and sit down at that piano and play it. I can play the piano, but I usually have to prepare for it. I can't just sit down and sight read. I can play from memory, or I can read a chart and figure something out along the way, but I still need a minute. These guys, they have that skill with them. And it's not something they capitalize on. It's just, oh, hey, we're having a little Christmas get-together, and there's a piano there, and everybody takes turns. And we've lost that. It's like, what, everybody going to take turns tick-tocking? No, because that's a narcissistic, self-centered function. It doesn't really help or participate or include anybody else. And that, to me, ties into the support thing. Right? Whether Ray Kennedy is backing a lady singing or it's Brian Whitted in front of the Thalian audience, none of it happens one-man band show thing, right? That's where the support idea comes in. It becomes more important for people to understand support. Because you can't have a good show without a good crew. If your crew is in chaos, your show is in chaos. I don't care who you have, even if it's Alec Baldwin. If anybody remembers Team America, World Police, one of the best movies ever made. Doesn't matter who you have up front. If your crew and your set and your writing and anything else has broken links or bad links or weak links in it, it will show. But those who have an understanding of support at whatever level understand that things like sweeping the floor needs to happen. It's not a noble job, but it's a necessary job. Backing somebody on piano, playing a few chord note bits so that somebody else can be in front and get the light for a second. That takes a true command of a person's ego, right? You don't get that from a narcissist. Narcissists don't make good support personnel, period. You need somebody who has an understanding, even if they don't have, it doesn't even require empathy. All it requires is knowing that this could be made smoother if I think ahead just a little bit. Right? If you're on your way to do errands and you need to buy something at a store, I like to have it down so that when I get into the store, I am done and on my way as quickly as possible. This is me. Try to be effective so that when something happens, I'm prepared for it. If I encounter somebody with a flat tire, I happen to have a compressor and a bottle of Fix-A-Flat to get you up and running and get you out of there. Right? I also have a first aid kit and have flares. I have a fire extinguisher in my car. Who else is prepared for stuff like that? Boy Scouts taught me a lot about that, but so did living life with a violent alcoholic. How do you calm life in a chaotic, violent atmosphere? You think ahead. Look, if I get out of Dad's way, I'm not going to get hit. Right? If I can go ahead and put Dad's slippers and his newspaper in his favorite place so that he doesn't have to deal with me and I don't have to deal with him, we have a moment of peace. Unfortunately, a lot of people who respond to these types of environments end up being cocaine dealers that flip the car and land on top of themselves. Again, I think music would have saved a lot of problems in many of these situations. But that's me. I mean, I have a really bizarre utopian view on inviting the arts. For example, one of the arts that was there last night, which I hadn't seen in a young person in a very long time, a tap dancer with a big smile on his face. And he was, I think he's in one of the performances coming up at Thalian Hall. And the dance that he did is part of the routine that'll be in the show. very well choreographed. I feel sorry for the people in Yosaki, unfortunately, because the man had very good control over his tap shoes, right? I mean, he was the only other cat running around the place in sneakers, and I understood why. I'm like, yeah, he wants something soft and quiet right now, because once he straps on them tap shoes, everybody downstairs is going to know it. And it was phenomenal. It was so much fun. So, there's... So trying to tie the support, if you think of water as a support vehicle, water does a lot for us that we don't really appreciate until it comes time to, hey, we're running short on clean water. Well, we're not paying attention to the support system, right? The support system would have actually done something with Chemwars when they had the federal grand jury convened and failed to return an indictment. I'm guessing there's money involved, but nobody seems to give a damn. Instead, we're all bitching about the cost of our water going up because CFPUA had to add additional activated carbon filters to remove the last bits, right? 1 part in 100, we're trying to get it down to under 3 parts per trillion. Reverse osmosis only goes so far. Activated granulated charcoal, or whatever the magic is. And those scientists have to put it together, and at some point, we have to have our own scientific awareness to say, you know what? If you subtract water from raw sewage, you have 2 items. You have water, and you have sewage. H2O is just the 2 molecules, 2 atoms of hydrogen bonded with an atom of oxygen. Element of, that's... And at least understand that, so that pure water doesn't really exist. Water is pulled from something, and Mother Earth does the best job of that. By percolating through the soil, and Mother Earth takes what it needs, right? That's how this whole planet has worked until humans. Everything lived off of something else's death, decay, or waste product. Dung beetle, great example. But for the most part, the planet absorbs all of that, turns it into nutrients for the plants. It makes oxygen. Right? So we have all these processes that we just don't seem to appreciate. Most of these processes are completely harmonious and synchronized amongst themselves. However, the humans on this planet have sort of taken that to a new level and have poisoned, contaminated, or otherwise damaged just about every corner. Right? One of the articles we read recently was talking about nurdles. If you're familiar with those, it's the pre-plastic plastic. It's fluffy. It's very, very light. And a container ship was destroyed in the open ocean carrying tons of this stuff. Some of it went airborne, some of it went waterborne. And now it's on just, if I'm not mistaken, they have found it on every coastline on the planet. Think about that. That's who we are. I mean, you want to talk about global crisis and warming and all that? No, we are just horrible, horrible stewards of our own planet. We have to develop devices to clean up the trash that's trashed the ocean. Right? The more fish we open up, the more trash we find inside the fish. And that's supposed to be our food? Pescatarians. And that's just in the water. I mean, the land-based isn't quite as bad, but oh yeah, we find it. Not necessarily in the controlled livestock that we raise for food, which y'all need to relax. We raise plants the same way, so raising chickens and cows and pigs and goats and whatever else for consumption is just as legit. And if you want to get theocratical, theocracy, theocratical. If you want to get theocratical about it, I think even the Lord God said, all of this is for you. You can make a salad, you can get high, you can have a steak, right? That's pretty much what the boy was saying. At least that's what I got out of it. The one part he left out is use it wisely. Had he included that thing, I'm sure we would have a different outlook on the world right now. But seeing as how most organized religion was organized to be powerful financially and socially, right? You had to have the blessing of the church or the pope or the priest or whatever to do most things. And how closely were most governments and their church leaders related to each other so one would benefit from the other? Throwing all of that aside, without the humans on this planet, there wouldn't be the problems that we have on this planet. So we are obviously not doing a very good job of policing ourselves at any level. I mean, just over the July 4th weekend celebrating independence, a lot of people lost their freedoms, lost their lives, which is, without that, you have no freedoms. We're just not doing a very good job of of taking care of ourselves and the planet upon which we live. Not because, I'm not going to say that it's climate change and it's a combined impact of what human beings have done to this planet and what we think we know, what we think we're good with. I don't know what I'm good with. I'm still learning. So, I'm going to go learn some more. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Bad and mad. What am I saying? So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad on the Big Talker Network, BigTalker.live. See you in a minute. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at BigTalker.live.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly over-regulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune in to Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Folks, the sad truth of it is most of what we're seeing in the news cycle is just noise, and it's recycled noise at that. Nothing informative, nothing that actually helps us discern the times that we live in. That's why we started doing Herd Tell. Every morning right here on Big Talker Network, 7 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m., we talk and discuss the issues of the day, culture and politics with knowledgeable guests, no yelling, no caterwauling, just grown folk talk about the issues that matter. Join me, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning for Herd Tell.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We're learning more details about a police chase that ended in a fatal crash near Charlotte on Friday. According to Sheriff John Ingram, narcotics officers watched 21-year-old Tyrant Benbow allegedly make a drug deal. The sheriff says a deputy attempted to pull Benbow over, but he fled. During the pursuit, Benbow lost control of his vehicle, going into oncoming traffic and hitting another vehicle head-on. Benbow was ejected, and his vehicle landed upside down and on top of him. He died at the scene. Deputies searched Benbow's car moments after the crash and found a large amount of cocaine. New developments out of Swansboro. Teenagers exploring Huggins Islands near Hammocks Beach State Park found a human leg 2 days ago. Investigators believe the leg belonged to 73-year-old Warren Liner, who disappeared on New Year's Eve after going on a solo kayaking trip in Bogue Inlet near Emerald Isle. Liner's kayak and life jacket were recovered during a search on Bear Island, but his body was never found. Wilmington police have arrested a suspect they say ran away from them and jumped into Greenfield Lake. Saturday afternoon, police tried to serve a warrant in the 2000 block of Fall Drive. Officers say 27-year-old Daquan Pierce of Rocky Point ran towards Greenfield Lake and went into some thick brush along the edge of the lake. He tried to swim across, but started struggling and called for help. An officer jumped into the lake and brought Pierce back to the shoreline. He now faces several charges for resisting arrest. And if you're visiting area beaches this week, be on the lookout for high tides and flooding because of the king tide. King tides are the highest high and lowest low tide events of the year. They occur when the sun, earth, and moon are all in alignment and the moon is at its closest point to the earth. This can cause flooding in places like Canal Drive on Carolina Beach. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a much warmer afternoon in the Cape here. Highs will get into the upper 80s to the low 90s inland of the coast, which is around average for this time of year. Middle and upper 80s for those coastal areas today with a small chance for isolated downpours firing up in the afternoon hours. As for tonight, we are going to see partly cloudy skies as temperatures fall to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Folks, you must visit Angie's Fresh Produce. 4447 Long Beach Road, Southport. Beautiful fresh produce at a great price. Angie's has just about every vegetable you want. In-store shopping and pickup, and all wheelchair accessible. Call Angie's Fresh Produce at 910-477-9068.
The Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association serves as the advocate for the building industry, advancing professionalism and promoting community involvement. We are a positive force for responsible growth while protecting property rights and the privilege of home ownership. 3 out of every 5 jobs is touched in some manner by construction in our region. Growth generates jobs, maintains our property values, and builds and updates our infrastructure. Join us Friday mornings for the Construction Connection with the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association and the Big Talker FM.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to the program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network. Please visit the website, bigtalker.live. You can peruse the schedule of content, as well as download the app for the Android and iOS devices. You can peruse all of the Big Talker content at your fingertip, audio, video, everything. If you Bluetooth it with your automobile's entertainment system, you can take the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you need to be. You can send an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques. That helps us out because we can't get any better without you. And for you folks tuning in from the Chad Adams Facebook page, please click on that message thingy and send Chad Adams a message letting him know that we would like him back on the morning show. And, we need more smart people because y'all are probably getting tired of me. But here we are, and here I am. Right here. And tonight we have All Things Brunswick with Bill Moore, who was our guest yesterday morning. We'll also have Mary Stillwell and Dan Romand, who will also be joining us Wednesday. All kind of cool, fun stuff happening. Y'all need to be a part of it. So, get yourself on over to the bigtalker.live website. Let's see, what else do I have here? I keep driving everybody to that website. Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce the city correctly, so I'm going to do a quick search, trying to find this place. No, you copied the wrong thing. No. No. A white cheese in Wales. Okay, so this is coming from England. Carefully. I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Carefully. Circus acrobat injured in human cannonball stunt in Caperley. That's what I was trying to get out. BBC.com. No one's taking credit for writing this one, so it's got to be good. Carefully County. A circus acrobat has suffered potentially life-changing injuries after missing a safety net during a human cannonball stunt. Man, I would much rather wash plates than get shot out of a cannon. The 28-year-old man was taken to hospital from an event in Llanbrdech, Caperley County at about 6:15 BST on 29 June, Gwent police said. Phone footage shows the performer dressed as Captain America crashing into a metal barrier. Uncle Sam's American Circus said he would make a full recovery over time. Footage shows the man being shot out of a cannon, missing a safety net, and crashing into a metal rail on the perimeter. Oh my God. He was out cold on the floor, said audience member Cherokee Jones. The show went into an early interval stating they needed to seek medical attention. I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but that's funny. Footage show him lying motionless on the floor as a circus colleague ran over to help. They put the guy onto a mat and carried him away behind stage. Still no sign of him awake, Miss Jones said. The ambulance arrived in probably about 10 minutes, and by the time they drove on to Lambridge show field, the show was beginning back up. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe it's just me, and hopefully this is an American thing. If you're going to shoot Captain America out of a cannon, you should already have an ambulance, like standing by. Not a 10-minute ride from the ambulance. Well, no. That was, The ambulance arrived in probably about 10 minutes. Wow. Once upon a time, I went to a show with KMFDM and Ministry and 9 Inch Nails. It was awesome. And I knew the show was going to be awesome because as I rolled up to the club, there was already like 7 ambulances backstage with full crew. They were just ready for it. They knew that we were going to mosh. They knew there was going to be some stitches, and there was going to be some cuts, and there was going to be some, hands and feet getting stomped on. And they are on site, ladies and gentlemen. They are set up and ready to go like vendors at a pop-up art festival. But not these guys. They shot Captain America out of a cannon with an ambulance across town. Circus bosses said the performer was one of only 6 daredevil human cannonballs in the world to attempt such a dangerous feat. I'm guessing he didn't do so well in school. The incident has been referred to carefully. Council and the health safety executive. The council said it was aware of the incident and was investigating. Woo! So, I don't know who is surprised by being injured by being shot out of a cannon. That's just... Whew. Circus acrobat injured in human cannonball stunt. That's just... Why would you do that? Now, this one's fun, and I was reminded of this because it was sent to me and I was supposed to have already covered it. I'm sorry, Daily Mail, UK. Do I have somebody taking credit for this? I do. Candace Sutton for Daily Mail, Australia. A Centrelink heiress living in squalor after being blocked from her $12 million inheritance because she won't get a job. Says she's a victim of discrimination. They hate her because she's gay. This is... A former private schoolgirl who has allegedly been blocked from inheriting her father's $12 million fortune because she's unemployed now claims she can't get a job because she's gay. Claire Brown, who lives with her wife on welfare in a dingy rental house in Sydney's Struggle Street suburb of Mount Druitt, once lived in her stockbroker father's $5 million waterfront apartment in exclusive Darling Point. But the 27-year-old, who has been denied access to her coffee, stand by. We're going to do a take two here. It's not like this is live. But the 27-year-old who has been denied access to her inheritance because of 2 clauses by her late father in his will says she can't meet the requirements of finding work because of prejudice against her sexuality. See, I'm glad. This gives me hope. This lets me know that it's not just Americans that act like this. She also claims that the relatives who are executors of her father's estate are telling lies about her, including the claim that she and wife Lauren Barr trashed her father's Darling Point property while living there. Brown, who attended elite private girls' school Asylum and traveled the world with her dad, is living on welfare and food parcels with her disabled wife, who is waiting on the public housing list for accommodation. Where's the rest of it? Okay, Miss Brown's twin cousins, believed to have been appointed executors of their late Uncle Christopher Highland Brown's multi-million-dollar estate, say he stipulated in his will that his daughter Claire could only collect her inheritance if she gets a job and contributes something to society. He knew what was coming, man. He knew what he created. Claire says that is impossible because she has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and high-functioning autism. Ruth Barr, the elderly mother of Claire's wife, Lauren, told Daily Mail Australia her unemployed daughter-in-law couldn't work because she hates crowds, can't concentrate, and people hate her because she's gay. Jimmy, the 27-year-old cousin whose twin brother lives in the late Mr. Brown's Darling Point property in Sydney's eastern suburbs, told Nine's A Current Affair that Miss Brown and her wife had trashed the $5 million property before moving to Mount Druitt, which I do not doubt in any way, shape, or holy my goodness. Wow, sorry, I can't unsee that. Miss Brown admitted she had gone on the dole while still receiving a $500 a week allowance from her father, but said it was from necessity and financial abuse. I didn't start on Centerlink because I wanted to. My dad kept cutting me off, she told A Current Affair. A Current Affair. Her cousins believe Claire has deteriorated in her mental condition since meeting Lauren Laws Barr and marrying the 37-year-old who claims she is also autistic and has serious health issues, requiring her to take baskets full of prescription drugs daily. Oh, it gets better. The married couple, who have a 15-month-old daughter, live a short drive from Lauren's mother, rent a single-story $420 a week house and drive a car with a mauve registration plate, happily displaying gay pride stickers. 5 weeks ago, Miss Brown tried to have the locks changed on the Darling Point apartment and police were called, but the property is being renovated by one of her relatives who was granted 4 years free occupancy by the late Mr. Brown to refurbish the flat. Ms. Barr said Claire, who claims she cannot even learn to drive because of her ADHD, is completely unable to go out and find work. Woo, this girl is a card. Miss Brown is now suing her father's estate in court to get a hold of the $12 million she says is rightfully mine and denies that she has any access to the allowances she was being paid before her father died in January of this year. Her mother-in-law said if anyone claimed Claire was well off, they were telling lies. She's got no money. Why else would she be living in Mount Druitt, Miss Barr said. Industrial woman. Adding that Claire, who with her wife have both suspended their Instagram accounts since her cousins took their story to A Current Affair last month and it was aired on Monday night, was too traumatized to come to the door. Asked if she wanted to work, Ms. Brown said, yes and no. I understand why these people want me to be a functioning person in society. However, you have to look at my diagnosis and realize that's just not going to happen. Her LinkedIn profile says she was a receptionist after leaving Asham, ran her own dog walking, pet sitting, and animal photography business, Canines, Cats, and Claire, for just over a year and has worked as an administrative assistant at the autism group Aspect. Miss Brown's wife says Claire needs a daily checklist because she needs to be told when to eat and when to feed the cats or they would all starve. Lauren and Claire, who claims to have the attention span of a gnat, struggles to complete everyday tasks, which includes reminders for Miss Brown to eat. She doesn't have an executive function in the head, Lauren said. Claire, who has a National Disability Insurance Scheme carer, also blamed recent federal government funding cuts have spiked her chances of getting her job ready. You could say at one point I could work, but employers aren't willing to give me a chance, and for those people who say there's employers out there, I can tell you they're few and far between. Christopher Brown died age 75 in Melbourne, and due to the fact his wife was already deceased and Claire was their only child, she is believed to be the sole heir to the bulk of his fortune. She said the fact her cousins were preventing her from accessing her fortune would make her father embarrassed at their treatment of her rather than her being an embarrassment to the family, which is what they have claimed. Can you please stop with this whole me getting a job? It's not going to happen, she said. I have called myself a broke millionaire because I am broke constantly and can't do anything about it, Claire said. The fact her cousin was living in the lap of luxury in Darling Point was infuriating. Whoo, man. The disease of the human condition is rampant in the planet. I mean, this is Australia, for Christ's sake. Her cousin Jimmy said the family had one... Ooh, y'all need to check this. This is what it actually reads. Her cousin Jimmy said the family had, quote, one nothing but love Claire, end quote. I think he meant to say had nothing but love for Claire. However, she needed a wake-up call and could find work as a volunteer if she couldn't hold down paid work. If they really love me, why am I in this situation? Getting a job is not that simple, she said. I worked for Autism Australia as a barista and lasted an hour. I actually wasn't that good at it, and I hated doing it. According to Jimmy, if Claire ticks the two boxes of getting a job and contributing something to society, she can access all the money you like. I don't know if that's a good idea, though. Instead of her agreeing to her dead dad's wishes, she turns around and sues her trusts. That's the extreme she went to, so she didn't have to work, he said. Think about it. For as much energy as this person has put into not working, she could already be running a Fortune 500 company. Because she's had to do some, resolution of cognitive dissonance. Oh my. Punch drunk from the coffee and late nights. Good Lord, it's embarrassing to have a cousin who has millions at her fingertips to sit and take the government money every week. Is highly embarrassing and highly un-Australian, he said. Damn. Claire said if her NDIS funding increases, she may one day be able to get a job. I just want what is rightfully mine, and I want these people to get out of their heads that I am ever going to get a job, she said. Man, if there's anybody new to hate on the planet, it's going to be this girl. what's her name? Claire Brown. Claire Brown in squalid Mount Druitt. I mean, she's just a problem. She is the reason why so many people are upset at the current culture in America. Because you don't... The other joke is like it's like trying to find the vegan in the room. You don't have to. They'll let you know. Right? I mean, there's some of these people with that type of righteous indignation BS, and this is definitely one of them. Obviously, that schoolgirl education hasn't done her any good, and these claims of all this, her father realized way early in life that he had created and birthed and nurtured a monster. A horrible, self-entitled, just, oh my God, what a horrible human being. But it gives me hope that this one's not Florida man or North Carolina man or Madison Cawthorn or Mark Meadows or Nancy Pelosi, who apparently, now here's where it's like up and down, like yes and no, yeah, right, wrong, all in one. So, apparently, and this is where I just kind of, I don't know, Miss Pelosi and her husband are on some extravagant vacation. Good for you. That's the best Marge Griffin voice I got. Good for you. How she got the money is the problem, not the vacation. Because anybody with the money that goes on vacation, we welcome them here in Wilmington. That's part of our MO. I mean, that's how we stay alive. So her going on, that couple, married couple, taking a vacation and going someplace splendid and burning money like water or hydrogen and oxygen, that's not a problem. How they got the money is a problem. Now here, this woman is claiming that it's rightfully hers. Most people who've had to sweep floors and scrub dishes to make it through would disagree. And I tell you what, lady, Miss Brown, Claire Brown, there's a lot of us with way more overwhelming circumstances. I mean, I tell you what, why don't you just take your plump and ample self down to Bo and Betty's coffee? Huh? Right? I mean, even candy striping, and apparently the boys, the cousins, the adults of the family, oh my God, she did trash the place. Oh, need a checklist to remember. You're just a fat, lazy waste of time. They're just they're not even asking her to get a paid job. Where is that part of it? Disabled wife. Can't even learn to drive. I mean, how many people in America drive with ADHD? And too traumatized to come to the door. Well, of course, you're embarrassed. You tried a few little gigs, but you didn't even bother with your education. Oh, come on. Her cousin Jimmy said the family had nothing. Had nothing but love for Claire. However, she needed a wake-up call and could find work as a volunteer if she couldn't hold down paid work. You don't need to be paid. I mean, just learn how to make a bed and go candy stripe. I mean, but you went to a private school. That should be the most embarrassing. I think every teacher she's ever had in private school should call her up and just shame her into Moleville. Right? Just right into the ground. Private school education. Nothing good come from that. You believe that? I do. Okay, Got you working. So, how y'all feel about that? It's good to know that this poison or this greed, this issue of being a horrible human being is not limited to being American. It can happen right here in the River City. It can happen in Australia. It can happen pretty much anywhere. But if you notice, it usually happens to the people who can. Like Boris Johnson. That's got to be pretty embarrassing. I mean, it could be me, but it just seems like that would be pretty darned embarrassing. Oops. Wrong one. So hopefully we can do something about that. For ourselves, anyway. I think everybody should just pressure this person to be completely get yourself off the dole kind of thing. Oh, I can't believe you just did that to me, computer. Did you really? No. Good. Hey, nice. All right. I did that. You heard that. That's already boring. This one isn't. This one's got a nice little groove to it. Anyway, hopefully when we come back, we're going to have a fun guest to help bounce some of this off of. And I'm sure he has some of his own material because he has his own show and it's much smarter than my own. So please, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Asylum. Your refuge in a world gone mad.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We're learning more details about a police chase that ended in a fatal crash near Charlotte on Friday. According to Sheriff John Ingram, narcotics officers watched 21-year-old Tyrant Benbow allegedly make a drug deal. The sheriff says a deputy attempted to pull Benbow over, but he fled. During the pursuit, Benbow lost control of his vehicle, going into oncoming traffic and hitting another vehicle head-on. Benbow was ejected, and his vehicle landed upside down and on top of him. He died at the scene. Deputies searched Benbow's car moments after the crash and found a large amount of cocaine. New developments out of Swansboro. Teenagers exploring Huggins Islands near Hammocks Beach State Park found a human leg 2 days ago. Investigators believe the leg belonged to 73-year-old Warren Liner, who disappeared on New Year's Eve after going on a solo kayaking trip in Bogue Inlet near Emerald Isle. Liner's kayak and life jacket were recovered during a search on Bear Island, but his body was never found. Wilmington police have arrested a suspect they say ran away from them and jumped into Greenfield Lake. Saturday afternoon, police tried to serve a warrant in the 2000 block of Fall Drive. Officers say 27-year-old Daquan Pierce of Rocky Point ran towards Greenfield Lake and went into some thick brush along the edge of the lake. He tried to swim across, but started struggling and called for help. An officer jumped into the lake and brought Pierce back to the shoreline. He now faces several charges for resisting arrest. And if you're visiting area beaches this week, be on the lookout for high tides and flooding because of the king tide. King tides are the highest high and lowest low tide events of the year. They occur when the sun, earth, and moon are all in alignment and the moon is at its closest point to the earth. This can cause flooding in places like Canal Drive on Carolina Beach. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a much warmer afternoon in the Cape here. Highs will get into the upper 80s to the low 90s inland of the coast, which is around average for this time of year. Middle and upper 80s for those coastal areas today with a small chance for isolated downpours firing up in the afternoon hours. As for tonight, we are going to see partly cloudy skies as temperatures fall to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the tackle box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The tackle box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
While I get my coffee together and get it down the gullet hole. Man. Woo, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. BigTalker.live. Please visit the website. You'll love it. It's a way of life. You can peruse the schedule of content, as well as download the app for Android, iOS devices. What else? Send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, critiques you may have. We can't get any better without you. We can't improve without you. And that's the goal. We're trying to be North Carolina, Southeast North Carolina's, relevant radio station on the internet. Which is why I was glad to run into Rob Zapple last night. He will be, after his vacation and his little tour this month, he'll be joining us after July 31. So starting in August, we're going to have him on the show every couple of weeks, keeping us updated on what's happening in and around New Hanover County. And I'm very excited to have that. Mainly because that's less time with just this idiot. See what I mean? All right. So, more Asylum news, because my guests have abandoned me. Coming out of the Mirror in UK, in England. Stop it. Do I have I do. Amber O'Connor, lifestyle writer for the Mirror. Bakery threatened with legal action over discriminatory cheese sandwich name. Oh boy. The planet's getting weird. This is in England, man. I mean, they don't get offended by much. The Bridge Bakehouse was asked to make a public apology and donate to a village church after a customer, I'm guessing a single customer, took offense when the bakery named a sandwich Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. A bakery has been blasted for naming a sandwich Jesus Christ, with one angry customer threatening to take legal action over it. Whoa. A little serious there, Karen. The Bridge Bakehouse learned it may have caused offense after receiving a letter claiming there was clearly a case to answer for discriminating against Christians. What? While the letter falsely claimed to come from the religious advocacy group Christian Concern, it appears the pun has left someone seething. Oh, what hoops do I have to go through? The letter read, although our clients would prefer to settle this matter outside of court, it's about money. There is clearly a case to answer here. Our clients do not wish to take this further, but feel they will need to, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, if action is not taken. Oi! Of course, it is anonymous letter. Oh, wait a minute. Proper from the article. Its anonymous writer also demanded the Derbyshire-based bakery make a public apology, remove the sandwich from the menu, and make a $300 donation to a local church. While nobody has admitted to sending the letter, it has been confirmed it did not come from the local church or Christian Concern. The Bridge Bakehouse believes the letter is a disgruntled member of the local community, and whoever it is that is upset has gone to further length with someone vandalizing the bakery's menu. Taking to Facebook after their menu was defaced on June 10, the Bridge Bakehouse wrote to whoever has tried to cover up Jesus Christ sandwich on our outdoor menu board with white paint, can you please not? We really can't be bothered contacting the council to check the CCTV. And if it wasn't done in the dead of night by somebody dressed like the Mask of Zorro, we are going to be highly disappointed. Love these guys. While the culprit struck for the first time recently, the bakery has offered the sandwich since as far back as last September. Served cold, it contains caramelized onion chutney, mature cheddar, and mozzarella, and costs £4. Imagine being so offended you have to make up being offended. I mean, who you're being offended by or for or on behalf of. To me, I think that's the best sandwich on that menu. I mean, I would go there if I had the chance to just hop a plane and go to bloody old England. I don't even know where the hell this place is. It's in some... Oh, man. Named a sandwich. Jesus Christ. That is just, that's awesome. Disgruntled member. Where is the... Oh, come on. We really can't be bothered contacting the council to check the CCTV, and if it wasn't done in the dead of night by someone dressed like the Mask of Zorro, we are going to be highly disappointed. I have a feeling they are going to be highly disappointed. Probably in a full-length white robe with a big white hat. Because white does not do well on late-night cameras. That's just a little trick for you guys, right? Especially if it's trying to use that enhanced lighting thing where it uses low light, and you just look like a glow stick. Right, you just look like an apparition. There is absolutely no texture or detail whatsoever, so if you're going to do that... Now, here's another story, and I think somebody was listening to my brain when Dr. Cahoon and I were discussing the obvious silliness involved with trying to build a massive stupid on the other side of the river, on the Leland side of the river, right on the river in that marsh area. Just news18.com. Do I have an author for this one? I do not. It doesn't. Oh, Buzz Staff, local news desk. But the story is out of Japan. And this sort of coincides with the idea that I had that instead of trying to put a condo right there on marshland, knowing the water levels have gone up 12 feet in 200 years or something like that. I mean, we'll have Dr. Cahoon on to remind us of the actual numbers of how much we have raised the water levels in the area. Why flooding has done things like all but destroyed 421 on the north side of 140. Let us begin the article. We have all seen enough floods in our lives, either in person or on TV, to know the extent of damage they cause to humans and infrastructure. Life comes to a halt in low-lying areas almost immediately. For instance, in Bihar, the floods are a perennial issue because of the state's geographical location in rivers. We are aware of the persistent flooding in Assam as well. We all might have seen destruction and devastation of life and properties irrespective of a developed or underdeveloped country. Ichio Kumiten, Komuten. I didn't get that right. A housing development company based in Japan claims to have solved the problem of flood-prone countries. The country has invented a flood floating house. The house is unique in structure because it is waterproof, the company said, adding, as soon as the level of the water increases, the house starts floating. I just want to point out personally that this isn't anything new. I think any marina in the area is going to have a houseboat. Anyway, Ichijo Komutan's innovations are the talk of the town. In an interview with TBS TV station, the company said the house looks like a normal house, but when the water started filling up around it, the house slowly leaving the ground and rising upwards. The company also demonstrated the floating house, and viewers were shocked to see that the house rose a few inches above the ground and started to float. The Japanese-based company, Ichijo Komuten, said the house is connected by thick iron rods. It is connected to the ground by thick cables, which release the house upwards when floods occur and affix it back to the ground as soon as the flood is over. As the water gets less, the house touches the ground. Electrical things have been installed upwards so that the water does not reach there. The house can float at a height of up to 5 meters. That's like 16 and a half feet. Are you kidding me? 16 feet? Good God. Almost 16 feet. I'm sorry, I'm a little... Oh, still, that's impressive. That's 16 feet of iron bars. So the house has to be at least 20 foot tall for these bars to be in it to ride, almost like a shock absorber, right? But the fluid of the shock absorber is actually going to be the flood water itself. That's kind of cool. So it's different in a houseboat in that, you know, your mooring is actually a set anchor. That's pretty clever. Got to give you that. That's pretty clever. I'm not going to be able to move this. And maybe that would be the option for building in the marshland, is that we just build it with these big iron bars with ropes or cables installed upwards, right? So everything will float. So when the flood comes in, everybody in Curry, North Carolina will just kind of levitate. That'd be fun. Could you do it as a retrofit, right? Like, has anybody seen the Pack Rat or whatever, where they bring this big box to your house and they have this weird frame for it, and they just like pick it up off the truck and drop. You could do the same thing with these houses, just put that structure around the house so it just lifts the whole house up. You just strap it to the house on the outside and then just caulk the entire base of the house to make it waterproof, and then you just have to cut I guess there is a lot of work involved. Flushing your toilet would be different 16 feet up in the water, I'm guessing. So, yeah. There's a few things to answer there. I mean, are you going to make your own beer while floating? I mean, how does that work? I mean, floating the house makes sense. We have houseboats with that function, and we have the ability to take care of it. It's not the most pleasant event imaginable, right? You hire a guy to come around with a honey wagon and empty your boat. So when your house starts to float, how is that going to work? It's a little weird, but there is a YouTube video that I don't know, if I was more progressive, I would probably add it to the show. Maybe I can. I don't know. If I do this. You're being silly. Stop it. You're being absolutely silly. No, I can't. It's not even in the right language. Never mind. It wouldn't make any sense. But yeah, I want to see that thing 16 feet up in the air and then flush the toilet and see what happens. But it is. It's actually a houseboat that's moored on all four corners. That's all it is. I'm not sure it's entirely innovative. And of course, they still show water halfway up the door. I consider that flooding. So maybe a houseboat is just a better idea. It's basically a modified houseboat. Somebody got high, saw a houseboat, and said, hey, we could do that. But apparently weed is outlawed in Japan, so maybe it's the sake. I don't know. Yeah, I think I want a happy sandwich. I'm going to have myself a Jesus Christ. That's amazing. Oh, hey, I have somebody on the phone from Washington, D.C. Oh, my goodness, who's on the phone with me? Hello, calling from Washington. Oh, no, they hung up. Must have been somebody trying to sell me Amazon insurance or something. So, hey, to round this thing out, because it's Tuesday, tomorrow I promise we're going to have some discussions with our friend Dr. Cahoon about this. And I'm probably going to have some fun with Dan in the morning as well. And Dan will also be on this evening at All Things Brunswick with Bill Moore, Mary Stillwell. And I forgot the guest's name that they have this evening, but they're discussing small business in today's current climate, recovering from the pandemic and all other hell breaking loose. And just for fun, if you think the world is melting today, let's look back on this date in history. In 1804, a former United States Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, dies after being shot in a pistol duel the previous day by Vice President Aaron Burr. A descendant of which has been in the North Carolina Senate, I believe. I'll get that wrong, no matter how you look at it. 1863. No, he's in the. He's like a big boy. He's not state. He's like federal, isn't he? Anyway, 1863 in New Zealand, British forces invade Waikato, home of the Maori King movement, beginning a new phase of the wars between Maori and colonial British. British being the little a-holes they are, or can be. Unless, of course, you're being shot out of a cannon. 1913, 150,000 Ulstermen gather in resolve to resist Irish Home Rule by force of arms. Since the British Liberals have promised the Irish nationalists Home Rule, civil war appears imminent. 1943, World War II, Battle of, I'm not going to pronounce that, Prokhorovka. Battle of Prokhorovka. Russians defeat German forces in one of the largest ever tank battles. Well, let's hope that works differently this week. 1957, U.S. Surgeon General Leroy Burney connects smoking with lung cancer. You son of a bitch. You're the one, Leroy Burney. Call yourself a doctor. You don't understand. Tobacco is a vegetable and has been a staple of the North Carolina economy since we first ran the red man out of this place. And, of course, poisoned them with it. That kind of had to. Now, this one to go out with just because I can, and it's not like anybody's going to spank me. David Proper, New York Post. TikTok conspiracy theory encourages abstinence from drinking to avoid being trapped in past dimension. Okay, whatever the hell it takes. Whatever it takes to get stupid people to not drink is a bonus, all right? The latest conspiracy theory spreading across TikTok encouraged people not to drink booze over the holiday weekend to ensure they reach a new dimension when a particle accelerator revved up this week. The bizarre conjecture is part of a growing New Age movement on TikTok that was discussed on the Fever Dreams podcast, which is hosted by Daily Beast politics reporter Will Sommer. New Agers believe abstaining from drinking and other low vibration activities before the Large Hadron Hadron Collider in Switzerland was revved up on Tuesday. For fear they'll get stuck in a past universe, Summer and guest Andrew Carell, also of the Daily Beast, discussed there is a growing New Age movement that believes that if you had an alcoholic beverage on July 4th, there is a good chance you may be stuck in this dimension. When we all jump to the new world, Summer said on the podcast, the Hadron Collider, located in Geneva, was recently started for the first time in a couple of years. Man, if you ever needed to look stupid. So this idea that we're all going to go into another dimension, into the multiverse, Summer said, noting one TikTok user advises people to keep their vibrations high to make the dimension jump. Whew. And so this is something I was really not aware of until the 4th of July, when suddenly we started seeing all these TikToks online and people saying we're going to jump to the next dimension on July 5. He continued. Now, that means you need to be in a really positive space when the Hadron Collider gets turned on. You need to be ready. You need to be ready to journey through the abyss, so drinking is going to open up your demonic pores. The hell? Do these people vote? That's got to be the problem. TikTokers believe one sign of dimension travel is the Mandela effect, which is misremembering things like Febreze spelled Febreze. What? And really, all this is just people's inability to process nostalgia, Kirill said. Kirill, who'd had a drink on Independence Day, said, the vibe shift is everyone leaves for a different dimension, and I'm left here with all the people who had a beverage on July 4th. Then that would be pretty sick, honestly. The squares have moved on to a different dimension, Summer quipped. Yeah. But on the same time, it's like, wow. How fast can stupid spread on the internet is a question that needs to be researched. And the thing is, if you have some weird chick with a nose ring half naked on the screen, that's probably going to get a lot of clicks and likes, not because of what she's saying, but because she's half naked with a nose ring. I don't know if that's sexist or what, but I know from marketing and media that we don't hire the ugliest person we can find to sell your product. That's by design, right? When you look on the TV screen to see your news being delivered by the bubble-headed blonde or whatever that song lyric is, the bubble-headed bleach blonde comes on at 5. She can tell you about a plane crash with a gleam in her eye. People love it when you die. Just give us dirty laundry. So whatever it takes to sell this type of crap. I mean, at some point, there's enough going on with just the real politics to separate the BS from the reality. Then we have people that actually believe this crap. 225 replies just on the Twitter. Do not drink on July 4th. Well, that's just a good idea. Like, for example, if you're going to be handling fireworks, maybe don't. You're not going to give me much more, are you? That just, because I'm trying to figure out if there's like 1 million views or whatever on YouTube and TikTok or whatever, but that's just, how many of the people listening to this broadcast, bit of information, whatever, could possibly believe? I mean, every decision you make is what creates the additional multiverse. Right? So having a drink or not having a drink on the 4th of July is already determining the next dimension. But we're all still going to vibe right here on planet Earth in solar system. Man. And the collider has nothing to do with it. The only thing the collider is going to really affect is anybody like within a short distance who might have a pacemaker. Like if they're inside the tunnel walking around when that magnet fires, because that's all it is just firing up one massive magnet. So probably everybody's flatware in the city is going to fall to the floor and like get slipped on over to Geneva. It's going to be weird. There's going to be this like ring of random unsecured metal objects from the neighborhood. Where's the Hadron Collider? It's right there. You can see it from the sky. All the little gleaming things. And, oh, that'd be awesome. Like magpies, right? They want the gleaming objects. They fly down. They try and get one of those, and it just brings it. It's awesome. Oh, the cartoons I can make of that. But I shan't. Because it is a Tuesday. This evening we have All Things Brunswick, a show for which I must prepare. Along with the other daily grind things that we must do, right? Being an on-air radio celebrity does not make me immune to things like laundry. I'm not like, what was her name? Claire Brown. I have a job, and I must do it. Actually, I have a few jobs. I must do them. Along with things like, I don't know, bathe, dishes, clothes, just whatever. But sorry, Claire Brown is having such a hard time in her pampered life and private schooling. You would think that with the schooling alone, she would be, never mind. Just, God bless, that's aggravating. I'm sorry. That's just, makes you want to smack somebody. Could just be me. All right, so with that in mind, everybody should have a great day. Stay tuned for Consumer Choice Radio and Guns, Politics, Freedoms, as well as All Things Brunswick this evening. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch up with you tomorrow right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad on the Big Talker. Talk to you then. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics